All right. Welcome, Lynn. How are you?
I'm great, thank you.
Excellent, excellent. So you have a lot of things going on, and before we even get started into the 5 questions for the Monday motivation, I want to share a memory I have, and I think I've shared this with you before. We went to high school together. We were in choir together. I was the president of concert choir, and on my last day, I still have this picture you gave to me. It was in a picture frame, and for about 2 years after I graduated, I didn't know that there was a note behind it. And then I opened up the note and I was like, holy shit. I was like, that was the sweetest thing. And I will never forget that. And what I graduated, oh my God, wait, or is it 19 years ago? Is that right?
We're getting there, yeah.
Oh my God. Oh my God. Wow. I just realized I'm getting old. Uh, so I like that will always be in my mind as how awesome you are for doing that. And the note was beautiful. It was awesome, well written, just really sweet. So I thank you for that because that every time, I still have that picture. I don't have it actually here in Rochester. I have it in Miami. But every time I see that picture, I'm like, man, you know what? Lynn is awesome. So
Well, thank you. I got to tell you that, as a sophomore getting into that top group, you were a huge role model for me of like you were just super confident and getting up in front of the group and I was like, I want to be like that. And then 2 years later, I was the concert choir president, like really because of you. So,
That's
goes
that's
both
that's
ways.
awesome. I appreciate that, and we had a great leader in Mr. Lee,
Yes.
which I invited him on the podcast a couple times, and he's like, "Cher, I don't like that stuff."
Well, maybe
He
after
does
he sees us, he'll be inspired
right.
to give it a
I'm
try.
hoping. I'm hoping because he's doing big things. So
Yes.
that aside, we have the 5 questions, and you have a lot going on. You are the conductor, director. I don't know what you call yourself, but you are the high school orchestra teacher and director or conductor. I don't know what you call it.
Yeah, I director of orchestras at Lancaster High
Director of
School.
orchestra. There you go. And then on top of that, you are a volunteer firefighter, which I think is badass.
And I
Uh,
love it's the best.
Yeah, well, and now that I'm up here in Rochester, I'm gonna be as soon as the DMV is hard to get a hold of right now, but as soon as everything settles down, I'm gonna change my license over and I'm gonna volunteer at the local one. So I'm really excited.
Love it. Good for you.
Yeah. So that so teacher, director, a volunteer firefighter. You serve currently as you're is it the bond or the board on the board or something like that
Village
for
trustee.
the village,
Yep.
yeah, village trustee, and then you are running for mayor, which
Yeah.
ironically when this airs it will be the next day is when everybody goes and votes.
You're getting
So
close.
this right here is going to put you over the edge. Everybody is going to listen to it, and they're going to be like, "We're going to vote for her."
Perfect.
So, and then on top of all of that, you are nominated for the second year in a row as the Music Educator of the Year, which is a Grammy affiliate or Grammy award that they hand out, which I don't even know. Like that's huge. Like how did you even get involved with that? And then when do you find out?
Yeah, I got nominated by a student and you get this email like, hey, you were nominated and you fill out this pre-application and so you do that and then you fill out a video application. So it could be video or written and they ask you, about your program and what you do for the community and a whole bunch of different things and then you wait. Like I don't know, you get
That's
emails that
cool.
you're a quarterfinalist, you're a semifinalist, you're a finalist. So
And
yeah,
there's
it's
there's
really
I think there's like
exciting.
what, like 10 people left or maybe even
Yeah,
less. 10.
yeah. And it's
That's
it's national. That's incredible to me of everyone in the whole country.
Yeah,
There's 10
and
of
you're
us.
one of 10. Wow. I mean, and that the same thing happened last year, right? You were top 10 as
Yeah.
well.
Yeah.
That's so crazy. I mean, that's amazing. But it doesn't surprise me. When we were in choir together, I mean, you had a talent. You were great. So it doesn't surprise me at all. So my question is, you're doing all this. How did you get to where you are? You obviously had a love of music in high school, and then became a teacher. Like, how did you get to where you are in your career slash life? And like, that's as far as teaching, firefighting, and trying to be the mayor now.
Yeah, there's a lot in that one question. So when I actually started in forensic science at the University of Central Florida in Orlando. I don't know if you know that I was a Florida girl for a little bit.
I didn't know that.
I did. Yeah, I loved chemistry.
Wow.
And I took my instrument down because I had always played and I was in that orchestra. And, when I was spending my time in the chem lab and then my time in the practice room, I was like, well, I definitely prefer being in the practice room. And I decided, okay, this is the path I want to take. And then when I decided I wanted to be a teacher, it made more sense to go back to New York. I knew I wanted to, live in New York and get New York State certified. So I transferred to Fredonia. I was so determined. It was a hard year. We were talking about this a little bit earlier. The move from Florida to New York is a little tough once you get used to the weather. And I moved in the middle of winter. So I moved for the spring semester to Fredonia right on the lake. And I was like, get me out of here. Like anything I need to do to move through this program quickly. I want to start my career. And so I graduated early in December and
Oh, wow.
a month later was hired full time as the high school orchestra director at Lancaster. So
Wow.
I was barely 21 years old. My students, the steel drum program,
Yeah.
CKSO is a 5-year program. The students that were eighth graders were seniors when I started working. So they knew me as like Lynn Bona at that time, we
Right,
went on
right.
trips together. So it was a really weird start. I was very close in age to the students. All of my friends' siblings were in the music program and, just trying to find that place of like, no, I'm the teacher now.
Right.
At the same time, when I was student teaching, I'd moved home. I worked at Frosty's on Broadway, always. It was an ice cream place. And
Yeah.
that was like my summer gig, you had consistent work. I could walk to it. And I had a coworker who had signed up for the fire department, and he came in super enthusiastic, like handing out applications to everyone. And I was caught up in it. Like I knew nothing about firefighting. It's not in my family. I'm not really like built to be a firefighter, like the typical firefighter.
Right,
And
right.
like him just insisting, this is the best thing ever. You got to give it a try. And I did. And I think that was a really good life lesson for me too, for teaching that people's enthusiasm is super contagious, and I think it's just
Yeah.
convincing people that you can do it, like break down those barriers of being worried about what if. And it didn't it took me a while in the fire department. Like every year I knew I wasn't quite like everyone else. I was the only one bringing a cello into the hall, when I was coming from practices and stuff. And I didn't have family members there. And every year I was like, I gotta try and do more. I was afraid of it. It was some
Right.
intimidating things. And every year I would tell my husband, like, I gotta step up. And then it just started clicking. I was asked to be the secretary, where I got more involved on an end that I was comfortable in. And from there, I
Right,
was like,
right.
and now I want to drive, and now I want to, and I just kept taking classes. And the more you take classes, the more confident you get. So this is now 13 years in that program.
Wow.
In terms of government, it it was like a pull that I didn't even know. Like I never had any political aspirations. I never said, someday I want to be a trustee for the village, but I would drive going to and from work. I live in the village because of the fire department. That, once I started getting involved with it, I knew that's where I wanted to be. So I had to pick my house in a pretty small demographic, 2.2 square
Yeah.
miles. And
Yeah,
so
it's
I
tiny.
it is. I drive through the heart of the business district down Central Ave through that area to and from school every day. And you might remember this just huge, it was called the Bosse's building, huge, just
Yeah.
building with nothing in it, huge parking lot. Like that was our village core. And I would just sometimes drive and literally pull over and stop and look at that, thinking like, we deserve so much better. You think about East Aurora, you think about all these surrounding communities that have these bustling business districts, and I just
Thriving.
felt
Yeah.
thriving. Absolutely. This pull of like, we deserve, someone should do something. Someone should do something. And it was ironic that we had a congressman come to our school and he spoke to the Academy of Finance, and I happened to have a free period, and I just was like, that's cool. Let's go listen. And he was talking about his path and his journey, and sometimes the door opens and sometimes it's you that has to do something, and like the light bulb clicked. And driving home, when I saw that and had that same thought, I was like, it's me. Like I have to do something about this. So I just started asking questions. Like I don't even know what to do. I ran into the husband of a trustee, and he's like, this is your path. Get involved with these people. And literally it was months later that all of a sudden I was the candidate to be running, and I got elected. So it's been 4 years that I've been on that board, and I don't
Wow.
know how often you've been into the Village of Lancaster. It is a different place from all the vacant storefronts that we had 4 years ago. There's not a single one anymore. We have
Right.
earned,
You guys are building it up, and which is really
it's
really
so
nice.
exciting.
I
It
love it. I
it's
love it.
been work,
Oh,
it's collaboration, and it's vision, and it's like being told no a million times over and over again. And
right.
yeah, it's a pretty crazy story. I don't know if you want to get into the whole thing of the process,
Well,
but
I mean, I'm curious because you guys got I think you guys got grants and whatnot to to develop it more and more, and I'm like I said, I'm impressed. I seen somewhat of the plans and stuff like that, and you guys are moving forward with it. That's why I was shocked. I saw something on Facebook recently, and it was like it was really weird because I didn't understand it. It said something like, don't vote for these people because they're going to go ahead and take all the things that we went ahead and all the grant money, and they're going to throw it away. But you were one of the people that got that grant money, so I don't believe that for a second that you would throw that away. So
yeah.
I was like, this guy doesn't make any sense. And then I read, and then later on, if you look in the comments, because it kind of like disturbed me. I was like, wait, what is going on here? It says, I'm to clarify, I'm voting for these people, and not for this one person. And I was like, oh, and it must have been the one person that voted no against everything.
Right. Right. Yeah, we change is hard, right? For
Mm-hmm.
anyone and everyone, and it's been that way. It's one of my tagline. Like my whole life, I've known this as a parking lot, and the 4th of July comes in there, but the rest of the year, it's a
It's
parking
empty.
lot,
Yeah.
and so it's tough for I think people who are in the middle, because people who've been around for a long time, that street used to go through, that used to be developed. It was all destroyed in a fire, and now here we are with the opportunity to come full circle, and it's interesting to see how the public is reacting. I would say overwhelmingly supportive, and then there's the vocal like don't change anything. So
Right.
just trying to
The
keep that
1% that's like, I
yes.
don't like it. It's gonna be
Yes.
stupid, and you're just like, wait, time out. And but
Right.
it's that 1% that is the loudest.
Yes. Oh, always, without a doubt. And I think that it's trying to quiet that voice, at least in my head of I know this is the right thing for the community because I've done the research, because I've gone to the experts, because, I have taken the time to learn about all of the studies in this region. I don't feel like it's only Lancaster that's thriving right now. And again, we're all in this weird pattern from COVID, but really Buffalo and Western New York as a whole, we're just getting this renaissance and this resurgence. And it's because of these plans that are put in place, these big visions. This is, how communities work together, and, how we build each other up. And
Right.
so it's a lot of reading. It's a lot of reading. It's a lot of meetings and going to conferences and going to anything that you can get to where you can meet, talk to experts and explain where we're at, like how do we get to this next level as a community.
No, that's awesome. It's a lot of work is what you're doing, right? And when you decided to run for mayor, tell me how that developed, because you talked about how you got on the board here and went through all that, but how did you go ahead and say like, all right, now I want to take a step further, right? You're pretty successful in getting things done, in your current role. So what made you want to step up?
I think that I've learned a lot in the last 4 years. I've seen a lot. I believe very much in policy and procedure. I believe very much in teamwork and collaboration. And there's definitely been instances where I'm not seeing that it feels more of the political engine in that game. And I like really wanted to go into politics to prove that it didn't have to be that way, right? That we
Hmm.
don't have to be beholden to people, and that we don't have to just be pawns in some like bigger picture game. We don't even run
Right.
on party lines at the village level, which is very freeing. I'm not
I
categorized
didn't know
as a
that. That's really
Democrat or
cool.
Republican. So we have the Integrity Party of Lancaster. And that means that the priority, therefore, is Lancaster. And when we're doing the door to door and we're talking to people, they ask, oh, well, what party are you with? And as soon as you say, well, we don't run party lines, you just see that ease, like, because they're already prejudging you, right?
Right,
Like
right.
what you believe and what color, what side, right or left. It's interesting. So, as I have been in politics for these 4 years, I feel like I've shaken it up a little bit in insisting on certain, transparent hiring practices, on pushing for this progress. And I think I know the kicker, it was the day of the vote on our roundabouts. It was without a doubt the most contentious topic that we've had in our community yet. I mean, they're controversial in every community. We have seen them go in surrounding communities. We've seen the public outcry. We've seen them work. And so we did a public survey. We did a meeting in person with the public, and then COVID hit, so we had to have our next meeting as a virtual meeting. But this has been like, again, years before my time on the board of
Right.
trying to get this revitalization going and using a comprehensive plan as a guide. So multiple boards have been working on this. I was fortunate enough to be on the board where I had a really great team of people who had the strategy to apply for the right grants. We ended up getting a developer. Like, all the pieces are falling into place. And one piece of that is we need traffic to be able to flow through our community. We're developing, we're bringing more people in. We got to figure out a way. We already have traffic issues. How do we fix them? And it's the studies of engineers that said roundabouts. Okay, it's not music teacher Lynne
Right.
Ruda saying, I think we need a roundabout. Like, it
Yeah.
is
It looks
lots of
nice.
experts, right? Traffic studies. We've had the DOT involved in this. We have a regional transportation council that's been involved in this. So when experts are telling us and other communities are proving that it works, okay, let's go forward. Again, we're seeing that controversy that communities see, and it's trying to get people to understand. And so lots of conversations. And it was hard with COVID. Finally in the summer when it seemed to be easing up a little bit, that we could at least go outside, going door to door to all these businesses and talking to them. What are your concerns? Is it pedestrian? Is it traffic flow? Is it construction? And how can we work with you? We did a public survey. The public survey ended up coming in like 60 to 65% positive for the roundabout. So
Oh, wow.
ultimately, more people said, like, this is good. Maybe I don't love this one, or could you only do one? But we want to see growth. And if this means growth, that's what we want to do. And we got through all of this. We get to bringing the design phase to the board. And we've all been together on this for the four trustees and mayor. This entire time, we get to the vote, and the mayor voted no, without any conversation, without any, like, this is, I've thought about it, and like, that was the day I'm like, oh boy, we're
Yeah.
not on the same page here. This is a huge project that's going to take a lot of teamwork, and we don't have to agree, and we don't all agree as board members on things, but we're able to at least talk them through. We're able to have conversations about why we feel the way that we do and go back and forth. And that no vote was
Set you
so
back.
astounding. Yeah, I didn't even know how to react in that meeting. I was so taken aback. And, that was where I was like, okay, we need consistent communication in a leader. We need people who have, even if we don't have all agreeing ideas, at least an agreeing vision. Because if four people are going this way and one's going this way, it's going to be hard for our community to pull on board and get behind it. It's going to be disruptive. It's going to be expensive. We're using, millions of dollars of grant funding. So we have to get it right. We need everybody on board, 100% focused and 100% committed. And I just wasn't feeling like that was going to happen. So I'm running.
So here you are.
Here I
Nice.
am.
That's awesome. That's really cool. Like I said, I told you in the like we had like a pre-conference here where I just
Right.
went over some things. I've always been intrigued in politics. I've never really been intrigued in politics from the standpoint of like policies and procedures, but you know me. I love being center of attention. I love shaking hands and kissing babies, and I love that aspect of politics. Like everybody's like, Jeremy, you'd make a great politician because I want to be everybody's friend.
Well, you end up being not a lot of people's friend. I can tell you that. Like, what
that's
is
that's the part I would struggle
it's
with.
hard. It is hard. And it's interesting because again, I have that pull towards the central business district, but you learn it's so much more than that. Like you talk about wearing hats, like just as a trustee, as a board member, you wear so many hats. All these committees, the sewer committee and the public safety committee and the grants and economic development, but the buildings, lights, and codes, like all of those things are important to move a community forward. If our sewers don't work, who cares if we have a great business district? If our
Right.
sidewalks are broken and people can't walk to it safely, who cares if we have a great business district? So it's trying to one balance that and know that it's my neighbor's tax dollars. It's my friends that they're
Yeah.
hardworking and every decision I make, I'm spending someone else's money. And is it worth it? Have we investigated everything the right way? I literally feel that huge responsibility because these are people that have known me. I mean, they've watched me grow up in this community. They've watched me at school. They've watched me as a teacher. And now they're watching even closer as a trustee and hopefully the mayor because I'm making decisions that literally affect their day-to-day life.
Right.
And it's an enormous responsibility. I
I
feel
I
that
love it
weight.
though. I love it though. I'm very impressed because I couldn't imagine just taking all that on and on top of everything else you already do. Like you must not sleep with the amount of stuff that you do.
I'm very regimented in my schedule for sure. Yeah, I think you were
That's
saying about like the shaking hands and kissing babies. It's been interesting with COVID because we've had such little contact with people.
yeah.
Even the way that we're campaigning is different because we have to be respectful and responsible. All of our special events were canceled, right? In 2020, there was no
Right.
4th of July. There was none of that we would typically celebrate. So I think, you know, that is it's a great part of it. It's great to see our community celebrating, but I've found it just as gratifying on those times when you have your residents who complain to you and they're upset and they're heated and they want to talk to you and to know that you're seeing them on one of their worst days. Their
Yeah.
basement just filled with sewage. Their backyard is not draining right. All of these issues, their neighbor has so many code enforcement issues that is affecting their quality of life. And I think that being really genuine, like we can help, we can find ways to help. Sometimes we can't, and it's hard when we have zoning or code restrictions that hold our community accountable. And you say, look, that fence is going to go in. Like that's going to
Right.
happen, even if you don't want it to go in.
Yeah.
But I think that being able to follow up with those people and see that you care is a huge deal, even if they're not your biggest fan. There's people who
Right.
at the end of the day still don't like my answer, still don't like the way I went about and did things or what the result was. But I think there's a respect that
I would
I've
say,
had
but
the
they have to
conversation.
respect the fact that you're taking the time out of your day to address their concerns, to, listen to that and then say, listen, I understand where you're coming from. I would be upset too. But
Right.
unfortunately, our hands are tied. We can't do anything about it because of whatever. So yeah, I get that.
Yeah.
So my next question that I like to ask is, what keeps you motivated? What, like, I understand why you ran for mayor now because of what you just described. When everything came down and that no vote came in for whatever reason. But why do you want to keep moving forward? Like right now, I mean, to be nominated for that Grammy for the Educator award of the Year award, to be you not won, but you were nominated or received awards in the firefighting community, the Chief Award, I believe, or something like that. You keep on getting these things. What motivates you to keep going forward?
Yeah, it's interesting because I haven't been looking for awards. It's very
Right.
gratifying to get them, and it's I'm proud of it, and I'm honored for sure. But I think honestly, it's my students that they're watching me. This
Yeah.
that my nieces and nephews, they're watching me. They're and to try and be that role model. I believe so much in role models, and when you look around and you see what happens in government,
Yeah.
even up to the
Yeah.
national level, you look and sometimes those just big disappointments in the sports arena.
Yep.
And like we are the people who are role models. Like how many of my students say, well, my parents are role models, my teachers are role model. And I think that if we all felt that way, we would all be motivated to keep going. And someone's watching us, we're impacting someone's life. And it's so interesting with students, even like what you started with that note, like you impacted my life and you didn't know it till
Mhm.
2 years later when you got this note. Like
When I
we,
found the note, yeah.
when you found the note. So I think that just us knowing when we're good people and we try and do things to help our community, to help our world and give back, it's going to be noticed by somebody and that's going to inspire somebody to move forward. And I think as a teacher, I'm so lucky to see it. Like, not everyone is
Yeah.
so lucky. I talk with this a lot with my musician friends in the Philharmonic. Like, you're impacting lives, but you don't see it because we all go home after the concert.
Right.
You don't know
Yeah.
what we do with that experience and what we do with that music and how it carries us forward. But I see from day to day my students' growth. I'm lucky as a music teacher, I get them for 4 years. So I
Right.
remember them as a little ninth grader, and then you watch them evolve into this young adult who's like going out into the world, and you're like, I think I made a difference in that kid's life. They're going to look back and remember me, just like we remember, Mr. Lee. Like
Right.
he
Yeah.
changed our lives. He definitely
Absolutely.
impacted us somewhere along the road.
I'm a firm believer of having a board of directors in life. You know how
Yeah,
like companies have a board of directors. I firmly believe that, and I consider like I have a couple friends, where I really admire them business wise, and if I have business questions, I reach out to them and I talk to them about business. I have a couple friends that are in such amazing relationships with their wives, and if I have a relationship question, or I just I'm struggling with one thing or the other, I'll reach out to them and talk to them. I'm like, hey man, like how do you guys work this out? Like how does this
right.
work? And then I have just overall like human beings that I find that are just amazing people. And I talk to Mr. Lee, to this day. We text mostly. When I'm able to see him, like when I lived in New York, we used to hang out when he would come
Right.
visit.
Right.
But when I'm back in Buffalo, we'll go grab dinner or drink, and I consider him a one of the board of directors because he is so positive and so enthusiastic about what he does for a living, and now he's retired and kind of doing other things. But I just look at him and I'm like, I am a part of me is because of what he made. He was so focused on perfection and doing things, and I'm the same way now, and I'm like, where the hell did I get this from? And then I realized like, oh, it was Lee telling me like, hey, are you kidding me? This is not gonna work.
Right. Right.
Yeah.
Yep.
So like I'm
Yeah.
I'm a firm believer of like having a board of directors in life, and I can't stress that enough. Like I think everybody needs to do that. Find four people and focus on somebody in relationships, somebody in business, somebody in health and fitness, and then somebody just in general that can put it all together. Like that's where I go with that. But when
Yeah,
you're
that's a
you're
super
talking about
cool
that,
like way to look at it. I think, my motto is just like surround yourself with good people. And
yep,
that is what you need to do. And I've found that so much during campaigning. Campaigning is hard, when you look at the other side, trying to discredit you, trying to twist things that you said, trying to
right,
make you look bad. And you're like, your first instinct is to just fight back and then like,
attack,
let me
yeah,
run this past my husband, let me run this past, is this a good idea? And they're like, you're so much better than that, like no
yeah,
way. So you're like, don't
yeah,
even respond, don't even look at it, don't even go on that website or
right.
Facebook page, like you're so much better than that. I'm like, you know what, you're right, talk me down. So it's helpful. And I think, you know being a firefighter, talk about being surrounded by good people. Like these people, salt of the earth people who wake up at 2 in the morning for whatever the call is. Sometimes it's, the fire, and sometimes it's your alarm went off. Sometimes a basement flooded. And I've learned so much about character and giving back through the fire department. And again, it's a whole mix. Like it is a whole mix of people from all different walks of life, all different ages. And I never thought I'd be hanging out with people who are 70 years old, but you know what, they're firefighters for life. And it's
Right.
great to, we share that common thing. And I think sometimes seeing the tragedy that people go through in their lives, and being there and seeing that and trying to help give back, like it's very sobering. It keeps me in check. Like, oh, I think I'm having a bad day. Like, no, I'm
Yeah.
not.
Yeah. Right. Yeah. No, so now to go to shift a little bit, I like to ask, people on the Monday motivation, I like to see if there's a direct correlation of people that I think are successful, whether it's successful monetarily, whether it's successful in their career, their relationship, their life, whatever. I like to see if there's a direct correlation of what time they wake up and their success. So I'm most people that I interview, they say they wake up super early, right? And super early to me is like 6 or earlier, and I'm like, because I'm like a 7:30, 8 o'clock guy. That's me. I like to get my beauty rest. As I get older, I need more and more rest. But so what time of the day do you wake up? And is it a daily thing? Is it a 7 day a week, or is it just because you have to wake up to get to school, and then on the weekends you like to go ahead and relax? Like what is that?
Like pulling my phone up so I can pull up my alarm.
Oh my God, Lynn, you're
4:15
crazy.
a.m. 4:15 is
So
is the
what do
time.
you do at 4:15 a.m.? I
Yeah,
mean, is it
I
like a workout? Is it
yep.
okay?
So I
So
definitely start my day with a workout, and it gets me going, and then that gives me time, like, okay, I'm awake, that's my village board time. Like,
oh
I read through my emails, I read what I need, it's quiet, like I haven't cluttered my mind with anything yet, and I try
right.
and get that done, and out of the way at least through the morning. I eat breakfast every day. Like that was never a thing I did, and boy, what a difference it really, really makes. I read through this like literally like a prayer app where I take time and just like for me, like my morning is me. Like let me get
Hmm.
my job done, let me take care of me like spiritually and physically, and now I start my day. So yeah,
Wow,
4:15.
4:15, and is that 7 days a week or is that just five?
On the weekends, I don't set the alarm, but even
Yeah,
in the
yeah,
summer, and it's so funny. I have this life list, and I put on it like become a morning person because I never was. I was you're sleeping, it's 10, it's whatever time. You're like, okay, half the
right.
day's over, and I was
Yeah,
like, oh, I want to be a morning person. Like, can you physically change that? You can. Like, you can turn yourself into a morning person,
I
and that's
I
without any
I'm
coffee, no caffeine here.
you don't? I don't either.
No,
I don't either.
no
I
way.
literally I make my own bubbly.
Nice.
So I have the bubbly. I'm not sponsored, but I would love it. By the way, no, I make my own bubbly. And that's literally all I drink all day long. And then I drink what's called BioSteel, which is like
Okay.
a hydration thing. So I drink water, bubbly, and BioSteel. I mean, I
Yeah, just
dabble with
water
cocktails
all
once in a
day.
while. But yeah, that's so crazy. I don't know a lot of people like us where they don't drink coffee or they don't drink this or they don't drink that. I was just,
I'm
I never,
pretty,
I never had coffee.
yeah, pretty regimented in my diet overall. I think, that's one of the things of like, how do you keep going? That's eating well. Like I have
Consistent.
to take care of me. That workout, that eating well, drinking water. I actually don't do caffeine or alcohol. Like it literally,
Oh
I'm
wow.
boring. When people like want to go for a drink, I'm like, like, do you care if I have water at the
I'll
coffee
have a
shop
club
or at the
soda.
bar? I know, I'm like mixing it up.
Yeah, stirring it like, yeah, this is great.
Sometimes on like fancy occasions, I'll put it in like the martini glass just so I feel a little like higher
Right.
end, but it's still
Yeah.
water.
Nice. Nice. Oh, that's fair. So now another thing I try to see if it's a correlation to success and people is how do you relieve stress? So like do you work out? Do you meditate? Do you eat? Like when you have a stressful day, when things are falling apart, you had a rough call at the fire hall, the campaign is running amok, and you're just like, what? I need to relieve stress. What do you do? What's your go-to?
I think for me, it's definitely quiet. Like even in the music world, like everything's always noise. Like just find that quiet, deep breathing, like the meditation route,
Yep.
definitely. Like to just turn it off. And I keep reminding myself, like, I just need air. Like really, that is all we need, right? That is the fundamental priority in our lives, and nothing else matters. If I had whatever fall apart, whoever called me this online today for the campaign, or like whatever
Right.
happened, a kid was being tough, like none of it really matters to my survival. Like going back to those like
Yeah.
survival instincts.
No, that's very true. That's very true. I'm the same way. If I'm stressed out, a good workout's great, but it comes down to I will take, even if it's, I take in 10, 15 deep breaths, and I breathe in for 6 seconds, and I
Count
exhale
it.
for
Oh
six
yeah,
seconds. Oh
for
yeah,
sure.
that just it kind of just clears my mind. It clears my everything. So like that's what I do. But so it seems like you're very similar.
Well, and we're trained in that in the fire department too, that our air runs out, right? Like
Right.
we need to when we're stressed out, we're working hard, so all we're breathing heavier, but
Hmm.
then your pulse starts going up, you start getting yourself in your head, slow that breathing down. Like count your breaths, make sure you're saving your air so you can do the next thing. So
Yeah.
it comes from that for sure.
No,
You're
that's
gonna be a
great.
great firefighter.
I hope so. I hope so. My cousin was he still is. My uncle was a volunteer firefighter. My cousin still is, and he was a chief at one point. Now he's
Right.
like kind of like one of those lifers. But I
Yep.
mean, he just turned 50 or something like that, so he's still running into fires. He loves it. So I've always wanted to, and now I living in New York City. I actually applied to the New York City Fire Department, but I moved before all that happened. I applied to two different things. I applied to the DEA and the fire department,
Wow.
and I
Yeah.
moved to Miami literally like a month after I applied. So it kind of all fell through, and then I applied to the fire department in the city of Miami when I moved down there, and I realized I was so excited because they're like, we have, I forget how many spots. There was like 30 some spots, and there was something in the Miami Herald that said last year's firefighter city of Miami firefighters, there was only 6 people that didn't make over 6 figures. And I was like, holy shit. Like that's awesome. I want to be one of those guys that make the 6 figures being a firefighter, right? Because they're on 24 off 48. I was
Right.
like, this is going to be great. And I was like, how perfect is this? I'm the minority in Miami. I was like, I'm a white guy, and
Right.
everybody else is Spanish on there, right? Everybody else is, Cuban or Colombian or, whatever. I was like, this is perfect. And they're like, no, 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 we go off the national average. I was like, oh, man. I was like, this sucks. I'm never going to get this.
That's right.
So it didn't work out well for me there. But now I can. There's a volunteer program, so I'm excited for that. And side note, you are, I think, the first female truck driver, right,
In my company, yeah. So
in your
we're made
company.
up of four different companies that make up our department, and I was the first female interior and driver for our company. And just again,
Wow.
once I got that bug of like I'm doing this, I was doing it, and those classes help. I mean, taking and being trained, they're all super nice. Nothing's going to happen to you in a training situation as long as you know you're smart and not doing anything
Right.
stupid. But like building that confidence and finally getting gear. Like when I started stepping up and they're like, okay, let's get her gear that actually fits her and like being able to like move in it, like it makes a big difference. So yeah, it's
That's
great. I
fun.
think we try and get, I'm the advisor of the First Responders Club at Lancaster High School, just trying to get young people more invested in giving back to their community. And I think I'm living proof, like there is no like this is what a firefighter looks like. You have to be X,
Right.
Y, or Z. And it's been cool to see some of the young ladies step up and be like, I think I want to try that juniors program. I think I want to, go through, and it's great.
That's really cool. That's cool that you're motivating these younger kids to do something, because I mean I think kids get a bad rap
They do.
nowadays, but at the same time I think that it's very different from when we were kids. Like when we were kids, I can speak for myself. I lived right on William Street. My parents still live there, and during the summer we'd be out all day long every day, and nowadays you don't see that anymore. You can drive through the neighborhoods and you don't see kids running around playing outside anymore. They're on their tablets, they're doing this, they're doing that. I struggle with my stepkids all the time. Today was a beautiful day, and my youngest was like, I was like, you guys aren't touching your tablets until you go outside and have fun. So
Right.
he's like, I'll ride my bike. So I walked the block with him, and there was kids that he knows from playing baseball with them, but we just moved into this house. So He's like, no, I don't want to talk to them. I don't want to talk. So they're like, JMO, you wanna play? And they were playing hockey. So I was like, I'll go play hockey with you. I love hockey. So I was like, I'll go play hockey with you. So we went and I played with the kids, street hockey for a little bit. And then all of a sudden it turned into there was just three kids there plus my stepson. And then they all came over to our house and they played on the in the yard. They played kickball. And then all of a sudden I look out. So it was just four of them. All of a sudden there's nine kids in my yard. I was like, this is awesome. I was
This is
it was like a
great.
proud
Yeah.
moment. I was like, this is amazing. Like this is what I want. This is what I need. So I slowly am trying to get, my kids and then, the neighborhood kids to be in that area again where you're outside having fun and doing things and all that stuff. So but
Well, and I think
uh,
I agree with the kids get a bad rap. Like COVID this year, I'm watching my students go through it has been astounding. Like they have been so resilient and so adaptive and so just they're gonna make the best of it. I mean, do we all have our bad days? Absolutely. Was the
right.
spring just awful? Absolutely. But they're doing it. Like if you would have told me to like explained the circumstances of COVID of, kids won't go to school for months at a time and then they're going to come back and only half of them and 6 feet apart and masks and like I'd be like, the world is going to explode before we could survive that.
Right.
And here we are a year in, and I just had this conversation with them because we're literally at the 1 year point,
Yeah.
and here we are. And I think they're going to be more resilient. They're going to be stronger because of it. And I think that being forced onto technology, that was the only way, like to be able to go outside is like great. Get
Right.
together outside with friends and do something that's not sitting on your Chromebook for school is really
It's
positive.
yeah. The only thing I'm concerned about is we went to school. I what is it, like 6 hours a day, or maybe
Mhm.
seven? I don't even know, but 6 or 7 hours a day. We went to school our entire lives, right? Every day, during the week. Now my boys, they go to school 2 hours a day, and they really don't get homework. They don't get. I'm like, they're gonna be so far behind, in my opinion. As far as that. So I'm hoping that the resiliency comes into play where they're like, okay, we're gonna go ahead and work our butts off next year, hopefully when everything's back to normal or some form of normal, and
Right.
and and really be able to get up to that level that they were before because that scares me. 2 hours a day is not a lot.
No, not a lot. And I think that that's going to be a testament to teachers of, I've taught this grade this way all the time, and now all of a sudden the students are coming in with a different, even
Yep.
my high school program, my ninth graders, and even my high schoolers, they hadn't played in an orchestra setting for months. Like we started way slower and way at a lower level than we typically would because that's what we needed to do, and we're building up and we're building, and it's amazing to see what happens to a program, whether it be a elementary school reading program or a high school music program because of what we've experienced. And I think we're all going to experience a new, like a rebuild and a reconfiguring of how to do things.
Yeah, and before I got into the last question, I just want to say so you sent me a couple links of your concerts, the virtual concerts, which they're available on YouTube, right? Is that
They
right?
are,
Is
yeah.
that yeah? I clicked on the link. I don't know what it was, but I just watched it. I love that you bring more modern music to the orchestra. Like I love that you do the Trans Siberia Orchestra for Christmas. You do a piece from them. This Halloween you did Thriller, and you
Yeah.
actually I don't know who put it together, but it was really cool.
Thank
So you
you.
did Thriller. That was neat. And I thought of you. So I was my wife and I we were watching Bridgerton on Netflix, and it's set back in olden days, right? I think in England or something like that, and they are at like this ball or this gala, and the orchestra was playing like super recent modern music, and I
Nice.
was like, that's something that Lynn would do. So I was like, that's really cool. Like, I really did. I thought of you the other day when we were watching it. I was like, man, that's a really cool thing because I think, orchestra. I don't know if you would agree, but I think it gets a bad rep. I think they think it's all old time music. It's all boring, and it's like the Mozarts and the whatever. It's just not as interesting to young kids nowadays. And but like they like teachers like you or these musical or these movies or TV shows that like it was the Vitamin String Quartet and they
Oh yeah.
did Thank You Next, they did Bad Guy, they did Wildest Dreams, they did like all these different modern songs and they did it in an orchestra setting where it was just it was beautiful. It was so cool to hear it that way. I actually have it on a playlist because I like the music so much. So I want to make sure I tell you that I think it's really cool that you, because I think by doing that, by making it more modern, you're going to attract way more people.
It's interesting because it's such a balance because I really do. I love classical music. I love going to the Buffalo Philharmonic, and there is that lack of accessibility or understanding. It's hard to take my, well, you haven't gone this year, but normally taking my students on a field trip and like, wait, what do you mean you can't talk or don't clap between the move? Go, oh, don't make a noise. Like,
Right.
it's hard to get them to appreciate it because they're uncomfortable in the setting. So I think that starting with music that they're used to, that they're familiar with, is that like, gotcha. Like, okay, you love your instrument. Now let me show you what's really cool about Mozart. Let me show you where all of this stuff in modern music came from and
Right.
how it's evolved and like try and build their ears that way. It's interesting that you bring this up because a good friend of mine, Jonathan Borden in the Buffalo Philharmonic, we worked together really closely during COVID because I was like, I don't know what to do with these students. Like we weren't doing Google Meets at that point, so we literally had no FaceTime with these kids. Send out
Wow.
assignments and hope they do them. And so I said, like, I want to start like a listening club. I want to get them started working on something, I don't know. And so he had written all these documents and we worked together and he would pick the repertoire and teach about it from a young person's perspective, something that was accessible. And we had an online forum that they would type and post comments, and we really started getting conversations going on classical music. And we've actually turned it into a business. The two of us are going to be starting like a website, building it hopefully into an app of like making music, classical music, more accessible to young people. And now, right now in orchestra, we're playing Dvorak New World Symphony. We're playing Beethoven One. Like we've gone to this like classical rock, and there's total buy-in. They are more excited about playing, this fourth movement than they were about playing Thriller. And
That's
that's
great.
super cool for me. Like you've evolved as a musician because you've stepped out of your box. You have come to accept something that you probably before would have been like, it's classical, or I don't do that type of music. It feels stuffy. And I love that about what I do. I bring that to them. And for alumni to come back and be like, do you remember when we played that one piece? I still listen to that Beethoven guy. Like, that is awesome.
That's really cool. Really cool.
Yeah,
So we're gonna go ahead because I want to be respectful of your time, and
sure.
I know that you got plenty of
Told you
things
I
to
could
do, I'm
talk
sure.
forever.
So the last question I ask is what I call the $1 million question. And you've been to New York City. You know that Times Square is, has millions and millions of people walk through it each day. My question is, if there was a billboard of you in Times Square, it could be you teaching, it could be you with an instrument, it could be you, behind a desk, as mayor of, Lancaster, of whatever. It could be you with kids and whatever. What would it say on it? What would you want millions of people that walk through there each day? What would you want it to say? It's going to be a picture of you doing something, and it doesn't have to be serious. It doesn't have to be teacher related. It doesn't have to be political. It could be whatever you want.
I think it would be me. I would say probably in my fire gear, because that was like the one thing that no one ever would have expected coming from me with my life list. I have this list. It like changed my life. A student changed my life, 2014 actually, that he interviewed me. He had a Spanish class and he had to do an interview of a teacher. And so he interviewed me and goes through all of these questions and ends with like, well, what are your goals? And I was like, I don't know. I have my job, my dream job. I bought a house. I just got married. I have no goals. It was like I went home, I was like to my husband, like, I have no goals. And right around that time, I was senior class advisor. I was involved with the leadership class that takes place at Lancaster. And the teacher for that, Mark Scaron, had given his students assignment to come up with a life list of 100 things. 100 things and not a bucket
Wow.
list. So this is a life list. And I'm gonna die with 100 things on that list because every time you do one, you got to add something else. So you always got to keep a
Oh,
hundred. And you think like, okay, cool, I'm gonna climb a mountain, run a marathon. You get to like 30, and you're like, I don't know what else to do. But like forcing yourself to get to 100 really made me like dig deep. Like, okay, what do I really want? What would really like be interesting in my life? And by the time you're getting into the 90s and pushing 100, and even now when I cross these things off, I wanted to learn how to drive stick. Being a driver for the fire hall was one. Like I tried to do all the scary things, like run a Tough Mudder. Like, well, I better do that when I'm young, you know? Like
yeah.
that has totally guided my life. And I think me with my life list on that billboard of like you need to do this. This will change your life and your perspective and always be giving you 100 things to look forward to. And it can be something as small as going to Chestnut Ridge to see the eternal flame because I haven't, to I want to be the mayor, you know. And it's
Wow.
fun to see how it evolves. If you don't have one, you got to do it, Jeremy. Like make
I
a
I
life list
honestly
with a
like
hundred things on it.
I'm totally I'm bought in. I'm totally in. I had a list of 30 for 30, right? So
Okay.
on my 30th year of life,
Yep.
I had 30 things I wanted to accomplish, and I think I only accomplished like 16 or 17 of them.
Well, and I think that's the problem with lists like that is we feel bad about it, right? There's
Yeah,
pressure. Whereas when
yeah.
you're like, I have to keep 100 things on it, there is no pressure. I try every year, like it's a New Year's resolution for me, like do five of them. So I can pick five out of the 100. It could be easy, it could be hard, it could be a big thing, it could be something. I want to go to, I love cooking. I want to go to all of Bobby Flay's restaurants. That's going to take a while. I want to go to every Major League Baseball park. That's going to take a while, but it's chipping away, trying to
Right.
get to
Yeah,
them.
yeah.
And stuff to look forward to. It is life altering.
I promise you I am going to get a list together. It'll take me a while because I think 100
Oh,
is
well,
is
and it should.
aggressive.
Yes.
But yeah, I did. I mean, what sucks is a lot of the things that I would have put on that list I accomplished during the 30 for 30, and
What you
like it was
think,
like I went skydiving.
me
I
too.
wanted to go to the Texas
Absolutely.
State Fair. I went to
Hmm.
that, like, and I got the idea of the 30 for 30 because a girl I was dating at that time, she was doing the same thing because she was turning 30 the following year. So she was saying like
Yep.
by the time I'm 30, I want to accomplish these things. I was like, that's cool. I want to do that.
Yeah. Well, now you're gonna want to do 100 of them.
And but you replace every single time. You replace
Oh
it.
yeah. Yep.
Wow. All right. Well, I'm gonna
And
get
it's
started on that list.
you'll just be struck by someone's like, "Have you ever gone? You have to go to this restaurant." And you're like, "On my life list." Okay. Like, those things that this people you normally like in one ear and out the other, and you're like, "Okay, like I heard that for a reason. You like crossed my path for a reason, and I got to write that down because someday I'm going to do that and it's going to be another experience in my life."
No, I love it. I'm hook, line, and sinker. I'm doing it. I will.
Yeah.
I'll let you know when I reach the 100 mark.
And it's cool to highlight and you date it, take a picture. Like it's like an archive of your life. Like I said, I want to be buried with my list. Like these
Yeah.
are all the things I've accomplished and all the things that I mean, people are like, that's so sad. You wouldn't get to everything. Like it's so sad that you cross everything off, then you have nothing to live for. Like I don't get that.
Yeah. True.
Bucket
True.
list.
That's a really good point too. Yeah. Like, yeah. I love the idea. Maybe even like make like a book, and every time you accomplish something, like you said, you take
You're
a
gonna one
picture,
up my
put it in
list.
there.
I know it. You're gonna have this like awesome thing.
I'm gonna do something. I'm gonna do something. I know that. I'm pumped. I have it on my list here. I'm gonna
Love
make
it.
a. I love it. This is great. So I can't thank you enough. Is there okay? Where can they go to find out? I have the website. It's Mayor Lynn. Is it Ruda or Ruda?
Ruda. Yeah, Marilyn
Ruda
Ruda is my
dot com.
campaign website, and
Yep.
we'll find out if I win next Tuesday. Isn't that
Yeah.
crazy? 5 days
Yeah.
away. Countdown is
5 days
on.
away from now,
And then it'll be
and it'll
like the
be
next
it'll be
day,
it'll
he
be
said.
one day from when this airs. So I'm excited for you. I wish you the best because I think that you would do a great job.
Thank
I
you
don't
so
think I know you
much.
would do a great job, and I keep doing what you're doing because yeah, you're motivating the kids, but you're also motivating, people like me. Like when I saw that you were running for mayor, I was like, holy shit, I got to talk to her. I gotta see, because I'm always amazed. You pop up on Facebook, and I'm like, I gotta talk to her. And thank you for coming on, because this was
Well, thanks
fun.
for the invite. It's been so good to catch up and see you, and
Yeah,
it's awesome.
absolutely. And one of these days we'll have to do. I have another series called the Whatever Wednesday, and I would love to, maybe even just talk a little bit about, music, and
Yeah.
go
Oh,
down
I
that
love that.
path, and
Absolutely.
and talk to you about that. So
I'm game.
I look forward to it. So I'm gonna go ahead and tag you in all this stuff. I
Cool.
actually I just had my marketing guru, or I call her the CMO, the Chief Marketing Officer. I was like, hey, can we do like a teaser uh, for my Monday motivation? And
Look at that.
I
Oh,
got
I
it.
love that picture, actually. That's a good
So
one.
I sorry, I was a creeper. I stole a bunch off of Facebook, and I was like, I sent it to my girl, and she's like, I was like, hey, pick whichever one you want, and she's like, okay. She made it up, so I'm gonna post that
Perfect.
tomorrow, which will be
Great.
Friday, and we'll get some traction here. So, thank you
Love it.
again, and I'll talk to you soon, and I'll reach out to you on Wednesday, either celebratory, reach out and be like
Sure.
yay, or I'll be like, hey,
Right.
next year's your, or whatever, next year's your
On to the
year,
next
however long
thing.
it
That's
is.
right.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And I will
So
look forward to seeing that, hearing about the list that it's done, that you got
I,
your life
I
list
I definitely
going.
will. Give me a, I don't know how long it takes, but hopefully I'll have it done in a month. Like a
Okay.
list of things I want to do, because I definitely have some things on there I are already in my mind.
Yeah, it's great.
All right, thank you.
Yes, take care.